The Israeli military says it has begun airdropping aid into Gaza and will be creating humanitarian corridors to allow the safe movement of supply convoys. Israel's army released these images, which it says show 7 pallets of food being parachuted over the Gaza Strip. Other countries, including Jordan and the United Kingdom, said they also plan to airdrop supplies. Meanwhile, trucks have started crossing into Gaza from Egypt. Israel says it will start allowing a so-called humanitarian pause in its military activity in 3 areas and along corridors for several hours daily, starting today. Israel has repeatedly denied there is any starvation in Gaza. That's contradicted by the United Nations, which says nearly a third of people in Gaza are going days without food. Now, for more on this, let's bring in our Jerusalem correspondent, Tania Krämer. So, Tania, aid trucks have now begun entering Gaza through the Rafah border. What more do we know?
Well, I mean, those aid trucks on the Egyptian side have been waiting there for a very long time. And we also had trucks that actually crossed from Kerem Shalom, from the Israeli side, into the Gaza side of the crossing. But what the problem was there is, like, Israel has claimed that the UN is not picking up those trucks and distribute them in real time. They have that said time and time again, blaming the UN for not distributing those trucks. But at the same time, United Nations have repeatedly said, you know, they need several things for this: the authorization, they need coordination with the military to move those aid trucks throughout a conflict zone where, you know, the drivers of these trucks or the trucks themselves are not coming under fire. So that has been going on now for weeks and months. So the question right now is, you know, how far will they get today? How will they be distributed in Gaza? Now, we understand from all these statements from the Israeli military, there is a lot of pressure now in the political echelon to change the situation. But at the same time, you know, we need to understand how this food will be distributed. The talk is more about the United Nations doing this and other aid organizations, because if it goes to the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, that would be just where people have to come to the aid. But, you know, humanitarian workers have said the aid has to come to the people right now in this situation. And also we have to say, obviously, all these signs of malnourishment that's across Gaza, you know, this will not stop in a day now. This aid has to come in continuously now from now on.
Now, the IDF says it's also dropped 7 pallets of food into Gaza, but with 1 in 3 Gazans facing starvation, and of course we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people here, that's surely only a symbolic gesture.
Absolutely, and there has been, you know, this blame gaming. Israeli officials have said this, you know, the claim of starvation is something that is made by Hamas. Now, of course, we're hearing that from on the ground. The reality is quite a different one. But of course, now we are seeing again the use of airdrops. Now, humanitarian workers have said this is really the last resort, because on the one hand, they're insufficient and inefficient because there are land crossings, as we are seeing. Aid and supplies can come in through land crossings and on a wider scale than those airdrops. They're also quite seen as dangerous. And last year there were airdrops on Gaza, and we've seen people getting injured and killed, as well as they create also chaos on the ground. You know, people will scramble again to get to this aid that's being dropped. And this is usually not something where for, you know, weaker people, elderly people, women and children will be able to get their hands on aid. So this is really a last resort at the moment, at least. And, you know, the question is whether this will be very effective.
Now, the IDF also announced that they will introduce what they're calling tactical pauses for humanitarian purposes. What more do we know?
This is a quite, you know, significant and important development. They made this announcement this morning here. They're saying that starting from today, between 10 o'clock local time in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening, there will be, in areas where the Israeli military is not operating, that's how they phrased it, there will be tactical pauses in fighting. And they said for now it's in Al-Mawasi in the western part, the Al-Balah locations, the central part and also in Gaza City, where, of course, there's a large part of the population in the Gaza Strip. This will happen now, according to this statement, at least every day until further notice. And also they say they have humanitarian corridors, and that comes back to what we were speaking in the beginning, for those humanitarian trucks going in, that they will be secured and that they go to these designated corridors between specific times.
That was DW's Tania Krämer in Jerusalem. Thank you very much for your reporting.